In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. Good morning, Helia, and Christina, and Jovan. Or good evening to Jovan, rather. Thank you for saying good morning to us, Jovan. It's very well today. Not such a nice day as yesterday. It's clearer. The area is considerably clearer, so we can see the Wrekin and right out over towards Derbyshire. But it's blowing like mad. Henry was earlier on cutting back some grass. Which he's done quite a good job of, from what I can see. But by the pond, the really interesting, exciting thing is that the geese are back and they are honking their little heads off, probably telling other geese to keep away. Good morning, Beverly. Can't type fast enough. Good morning, Dino. Maybe you have to, I don't know, write it somewhere else and then just copy and paste it in to be really quick. Good morning, Joan. Curtain with camels. I'm not sure whether it's got camels or llamas on it. I think it might be a camel. Yes, definitely there's a camel at the top there. It's got goats and sheep and camels. They're not llamas at all. Yeah, they're rather nice. They're made by a friend of the monasteries and a member of the congregation, Lincoln, Natasha, who is extremely clever when it comes to anything like that. In fact, she's clever all round. Very clever cookie indeed. Last summer, I helped her card some alpaca wool, which is, you put it through a machine, it straightens it all out. And then from that, she spun it. And then she turned up in church the other day wearing a fantastic coat that she had knitted out of the alpaca wool. It's very clever of her. Good morning, Father Alexander, your prayers. Happy Feast of the Holy 40 Martyrs to you as well. And Suzanne and Elizabeth, good morning, God bless. Right, today, the next little section of chapter 6, that's verses 27 to 31. And for this, you have to keep in mind that the earlier Beatitudes we read earlier on, rather, back in verse 20 and onwards, were reminding you that you can expect to be persecuted and hated. So this little section here is a commentary on what the Lord has said so far. Good morning, Ahmed. God bless you. I visited Ahmed at home the other day, blessed his new house, absolutely filled with cardboard boxes. I remember that feeling. It takes an awful long time before finally you unpack the last box and send it away and think, oh, thank heavens for that. What do I want all these possessions for? Good morning, Harry. God bless you. Anyway, so that's the background to this, not the cardboard boxes, but the fact that you can expect to be hated if you're a follower of the Son of Man. Blessed are you when men hate you, when they exclude you, when they revile you and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake, as it says in verse 22. Okay, so here we go. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who spitefully use you. To him who strikes you on the one cheek, offer the other also. From him who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and from him who takes away your goods, do not ask them back. And just as, pages stuck together, you want men to do for you, you also do for them likewise. Okay, so we'll finish there today. Good morning, Anton. Happy Wednesday also to you. Right, so we've got a similar sort of beginning to this, haven't we? But I say to you who hear, okay, normally we've been used to the Lord saying, I say to you, lego imon, okay, or lego imin rather. But here he adds but as well. And this is to emphasize that this is a really important thing. Like before, I say to you, it's a saying the Lord uses. St. Luke has slightly changed it, but I say to you, to fit in with what's gone in before. But almost certainly, these are separate sayings that Luke has shoved in here in this particular long sermon. All of these sayings would not have been digestible by the apostles had they all happened in one go. You know how it is. You teach all sorts of different things, then people remember that you say various things to them, like every day is Pascha, every day is Christmas, and so on. And then make mugs saying so, don't you, Anton? Now, here we go. So, Allah imin lego, but I say to you. And this introduces really this holiness code. Now, so far, we've been discovering the Lord he's done a recreation. He's created on this day as the nighttime, then daytime, and then he made the apostles, he made the church. Then he comes down from there, from the place of creation, from the mountain, and now what he's doing is he's expounding his teaching, the new laws of the new Israel. So in this way, you can imagine him a bit like Moses coming down with the tables of the law, and this is what he's doing. I say to you, okay? And you have this holiness code introduced in the same way as Moses introduced the 613 laws of the Old Testament. And in doing so, he introduces a quite different style of morality and spirituality and holiness from what the Jewish people were used to. So they were used to a different type of holiness, which we'll talk about in a moment. And he says, but I say to you, to those who are hearing. So partly this is a call to listen up. It's a bit like saying, to those who have ears, let him hear, as it said in John's Gospel and Mark's Gospel, where you're emphasizing the importance of what you're about to say. So we have here a whole series of things introducing the idea this is something the Lord is going to say, which is really important and you must take notice of. Okay? So listen up, you guys. It's also, it's a way of saying, if you can hear this, then hear it and act upon it. If you're able to act upon it, then do this, because it's one of these counsels of perfection that even the disciples found extremely difficult to live up to. They couldn't understand how, when he said like about marriage, there's no divorce. And so how can that be? How can anybody live according to that? And said, well, if you're able to, this is the way to do. So this introduces a whole new paradigm, really, of living, not related to questions like exactly how to keep the Sabbath, or the washing of hands or bowls, or making of sacrifices, or things like that. This is a totally different way of thinking. Good morning, Sunny Thekla. Okay, so a shift really in how people's minds work, a change in their mind, a metania, a change, meta of your nous, a change of your mind, which is what we call repentance. Okay, metania, repentance. So you have to remember, therefore, that a lot of what the Lord said is about repentance. And now he's teaching them what repentance really means, what this change of attitude and mind and outlook and all the rest of it is really all about. This complete change of outlook, change of in-look as well. Okay, metania. And the Lord then gives us 7 commandments. Sometimes people say they're 4, they're 8, depending on how you count them. But generally speaking, if you say there are 7, then you get them roughly. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of these 7 commandments. Let's see what they are first. So, in verses 27 and 28, we have 2 commandments. But you who hear, love your enemies, and do good to those who hate you. That could be either 1 or 2 there. Bless those who curse you, and pray for those who spitefully use you. That could be another 2. Actually, they count as being 1. Okay, so first one, love your enemies. And the word there for love is agape. But are you Blamet? Good morning. From the Isle of Wight, woohoo, overseas. Agape, self-sacrificing love. And who are you to love? You're to love your enemies. Now, the word in Greek meaning enemies comes from the words meaning those who hate and are hostile to you. Those people have enmity to you, in other words, which is very obvious. Okay? Now, obviously, normally, and it would be expected of his hearers, and of everybody for that matter, that you love those people you love, who love you, and you hate those people who hate you. Normally we hate those who are hostile, but everybody likes to be liked and everybody loves to be loved. So it's also a very odd person who enjoys being feared. There are people like that, people who actively like other people to be frightened of them, but that is a very dangerous and odd sort of person. I've come across a few in my life, several of them inside jail, but also several who were teachers who really enjoyed frightening little people. Horrible thing. So everybody likes to be liked, everybody loves to be loved. And if somebody hates you, it's extremely disarming to them if you set out to love them and be good to them in every way. Okay, and there's some ways of being good to them that we can think of, principally obviously through prayer and through acting as if they were a friend of yours, acting in a good way towards them. And the idea of all of these things is so that in no way at all the gospel can be impeded. So if somebody, because of the gospel, hates you, or for any other reason for that matter, somebody hates you and you hate them back, then it would be very difficult then to turn about and talk to them about the good news of Christ's salvation and the love of God. You have to yourself fully incarnate the love of God and love those who hate you. In case you want to know what that looks like, you just need to go and have a look at an icon of crucifixion. Thecla gave me one, and it's there. Actually, it's not there behind me. It is anyway. It's there in front of me here. Let me take it off. So if you want to know what the love of God looks like, the love of God looks like this. This is the way that it is. And there he is on the cross, loving those people who hate him and revile him, loving his enemies, saying, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. So really, really important way of actually showing that in a very obvious manner. Okay? The second one is bless those who curse you. St. John Chrysostom, is it St. John Chrysostom? Might have been St. Cyril. One of those two, I haven't made a note here, but one of those two said, when somebody curses someone else, he or she inflicts a wound in their own soul. So if you curse somebody who curses you, you inflict a wound in your own soul. You damage yourself. Moreover, if somebody curses you, they have inflicted a wound in their souls. And therefore it's incumbent upon you to pray for them and to bless them with your prayers so that that wound that they have inflicted upon themselves can be healed. And the next one, this could be commandment number 3, pray for those who spitefully use you. So we need to pray for those people who have done this as they are in mortal danger. Spitefully use you can be translated mistreat you, molest you, revile you, insult you, slander you. So it's a pretty wide word, this one in Greek, spitefully use you. It's got a wide context. So in all sorts of contexts, those people who mistreat you, spitefully use you, the way that we react is to pray for them. Why? Because the Lord said, somebody who says raka to somebody is in danger of losing their soul. And therefore we need to pray for that person because they put their souls in mortal danger. We don't come back with insults to them. We keep our insults only for ourselves, because to do so, of course, is put our own souls into mortal danger and also make it very difficult indeed to bring the good news to that person. St. John Chrysostom certainly said, when somebody treats you badly, you must mourn for them and go into mourning for them and forgive them. You pray for that person because they have put their soul in danger. Okay? Verse 29, to the one who strikes you on one cheek, offer the other also. And from him who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. So first of all, cheek, you offer the other cheek, so no retaliation. Again, the idea here is not necessarily in warfare or something like that, or protecting other people, where you have a right to protect other people, but this is mainly about the passing on the gospel and becoming a witness, a shahid, a martyr for the faith. No retaliation. So when we are wrongfully, as they were, when they are wrongly ejected from the synagogue, those Jews who are listening to this, and therefore from society, they should continue to reach out to the people or the person who threw them out, so that the gospel can still come to them. So even though somebody rejects you, you still have to reach out to them in love, to offer the good news of their possible salvation, okay? Rather than retaliating. Somebody smacks you on the right cheek, you don't smack them on the right cheek back. You act and behave in a way that's forgiving. Of course, in the Old Testament, it said if somebody knocks out your tooth, you knock out their tooth. If somebody knocks out your eye, you knock out their eye. So tooth for tooth and eye for an eye, and so on. I lived in Yemen, in Sana'a, where if somebody ran somebody over in the car, it was quite possible, and killed them, it was quite possible in the law there for the same car to be taken, the person who was driving to be tied up and put on the ground, and then the relatives, the person who got run over, then ran you over. If you damage somebody's leg, then you could have your leg damaged in a similar way, or you could pay a blood price for it. If you killed somebody, you could pay a blood price for it, or you could be killed yourself in a similar manner. And it's exactly this that the Lord is talking about, so that you don't get an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. I think it was Mahatma Gandhi said, if that happens, then the entire world ends up toothless and blind, which is true. So rather than repaying somebody, you keep on reaching out to them in love. And the next part there also, from him who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Now the cloak was the thing, your outer garment, and the tunic was your inner garment. So if they took away your cloak, and then they took away your imation, that left you completely naked. And again, the whole idea of this is, whatever they take from you, even if they strip you naked, what your duty is, you stop at nothing at all in order to bring the gospel to those people, to other people, even to the point of utter destitution and nakedness. Okay? You don't see many clergy who are going around naked, but there we go. Quite often they live in the finest houses in the area, which is rather strange, really, isn't it? Dear, oh dear. Okay, what's Father Alexander said? That just sent me a whole series of blue hearts. It has been said, anger is when we punish ourselves for someone else's mistake. We want to be angry, may even be justified in that anger, but to be complete, whole and human, we must forgive. I like that. That's very good. Okay, verse 30. Give to everyone who asks of you, And from him who takes away your goods, do not ask them back. Right. This is probably one of the most tricky and difficult things to fulfill. But you have to imagine people sitting begging, but also people coming and asking you for things. And really the deep thing really is about giving yourself entirely to the gospel. St. John Chrysostom says something rather wonderful about this. He says, everything we have comes from God. The air, the soil, the water are all the creators. He then carries on and says, even what you call your house is not really your house, because one day you will have to vacate it, and then whose will it be? And one day it'll disappear, and then whose is it? Is it still your house? He says, even your soul and your body are not truly yours. So as you expend all you have on the gospel, so as you expend everything you have on the gospel, says St. John Chrysostom, so whatever it is becomes truly yours. Okay? Whatever you give away becomes truly yours. But as you keep it for yourself, so truly it starts to belong to another one. And that other one then is Satan. Okay? So the one you have, keep it for yourself, it becomes Satan's. If you give it away, it becomes truly yours and part of your treasure in heaven. That does not mean to say that if you give away a biscuit, you'll find a biscuit waiting for you in heaven. Because all that you can earn in heaven is God. And you don't even own him, but that is what you have. Okay? Jones says, Boone, if you think of it, when someone strikes your sentence disappears, Joe. Father Alexander, an eye for an eye is great progress from the late Bronze Age. If one king merely insulted another, the entire tribe may end up being wiped out. You see similar in some gang cultures today. And not even just in gang cultures, but in whole countries. Poor old Yemen has been the most appalling, ongoing massacre of people in that poor country. And in Afghanistan underneath the Taliban, and of course in Iraq and places under ISIS, complete destruction of whole neighborhoods. Terrible, awful thing. So you give away because you're really giving away to God what already belongs to God. You know, the air, the soil, the moisture, we make everything out of these things. Trees, blah, 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 everything already belongs to God. So whatever accrues to me in way of wealth from that doesn't really belong to me. It all belongs to God. And therefore, if I give it to somebody else, then I've not really given anything away that truly belongs to me. It belongs to God already. But in the giving it away, so we ourselves become wealthier spiritually. St. John Chrysostom also says, it is a wicked desire for wealth that people strive together in a state quite contrary to Christ's words, which is a frightening thing to think. Then verse 31, and the summary of this section here. And just as you want men, anthropy, people, just as you want people to do to you, you also do to them likewise. Sometimes this is called a golden rule, but actually it's the very least of the golden rules, isn't it? If you're only doing to other people what you'd like them to do for you, then that is a sort of bare minimum standard. If, on the other hand, you're living according, right at the very beginning of that, remember, it said, love your enemies, the word agape. And agape is about self-sacrificing love. So you give your whole self to them, even to your enemies. And all these other rascals that we've gone through so far, somebody steals your tunic, you give them everything else. Somebody smacks you, you don't smack them back. You turn your other cheek to be given a smack. Somebody who borrows from you, you don't demand that things are then returned back to you. Okay? And so on. So, so you treat others. Now, this is quite commonly said to be a golden rule throughout all religions, but actually, if you look at the other religions, it tends not to be. It tends to be rather watered down from there. Islam has a similar form, nearly the same as this. The Jewish one is exactly the other way around. Don't do anything to somebody else you wouldn't want them to do to you. And whereas Christ has put it in a very positive form, do to other people what you'd like them to do to you. So we have to do a sort of strong version of this. Now, also some, quite a number of the others are similar. I think Sikhism has something very similar to the Christian one. Maybe one or two others do as well. Anyway, there we go. That's where we're going to end this time. It's a very important rule, this one, but it's a minimal rule. It's a minimum expectation. Right. Christina says, everything becomes an offering. Amen. Joan says, I was saying when someone strikes the other, they're usually on their left cheek. Why does Christ then say the right cheek? I always wondered about that. Does the right refer to something? You know what? I've never thought about that. And the fathers don't mention this as being particularly important either. But I don't think I've ever struck anybody on any of their cheeks. I suppose what you're going to, yes, you usually use your right hand, wouldn't you? Which would then create a sort of moment of momentum in sound and stuff on their left cheek. I don't know is the answer, but it could be, and let's make something up. Okay, so in order to hit your right cheek, they'd have to use their left hand. This shows that they're using the sinister side of their body, the bad side of their body, and now they're hitting your right cheek, which is on your good side of your body, so you've done nothing wrong about this, and somebody else's evil has caused you this pain. I have no idea. I think it's just one of those things. It could be backhanded. I don't know. None of the church fathers say that. I must say I've never read any commentary that mentions this particular thing. But it is an interesting thing, Joan. I hadn't thought about that. You would indeed be hitting somebody either backhandedly or you'd be hitting them with your left hand, wouldn't you? There we go. God bless you, Dino. Your prayers. Anton, a lot of people say how aggressive the world is now. I think ancient world is even scarier and aggressive. Yes. I think the world has always been the same, really. People are frightened about what might happen and how things might escalate between Russia and Ukraine. But perhaps people are only frightened in Europe, in this part of the world, because they haven't been involved with ISIS or with the Russians or other people in Syria and Iraq, because they haven't been involved in Afghanistan between the Taliban and the Americans and British, of course, and NATO, because they haven't been involved in the ongoing aggression, really, to do with North and South Korea, where there's always a feeling of insecurity, because they haven't been involved in the aggression that's going on between India and Pakistan, which is a very, 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 very long-running war, and accounts for a few deaths most weeks, which is tragic, or because they haven't been involved in the conflicts between the state of Israel and Palestine, or because they haven't been living in North Africa and had to deal with all the social and economic and political changes that have been going on there the last decade or so, or because they haven't been suffering from drought and famine and stuff in Central Africa and all the ghastly things that go on in Congo, or because they haven't suffered genocide in places like Rwanda, Uganda, and all the troubles that go on in Southern Africa, or because they haven't been flooded out or being burnt burnt to bits in Sydney, or being burnt up in Western Australia, or because they haven't had to deal with the Contras in Southern, in Europe, we've been extremely fortunate for the last, well, really the whole of my life. We've had a sort of ongoing tension between Western countries and Russia. And I can remember the astonishment of seeing the Berlin Wall come down, and amazing things like people giving up nuclear weapons or reducing the number of nuclear weapons, including in Ukraine. But perhaps that's where we rested on our laurels rather than saying, okay, now that this has happened, we can crack on with other things. Yes, indeed, Lebanon with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, of course, probably saying exactly the opposite way around as well. They don't like Fatah much, do they? But it is, we live in a constant state of real insecurity. You think about the countries where I've lived and grown up and been. So that's Kenya. If I've been, there's too many, but the countries where I've lived. So Kenya, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, Zambia, Haiti, Guatemala, and now England. None of these countries actually being peaceful countries or places where you can feel secure. In Kenya, there's obviously the Mau Mau, and now there's terrible corruption, poverty. You only have to have an election for hundreds of people to be killed. Somalia, there's an ongoing civil war there, obviously. Afghanistan, that needs no description. Guatemala, constant insurgency there, people killing each other. Even I apparently became quite a target for murderous intent while I lived there. Haiti, well, Haiti is a basket case, unfortunately, as you probably know. England. Somebody said to me a while ago that over the last 300 years, we had only not been at war for about 20 minutes. Ghastly people we must turn out to be. So, we have to have that sort of thing in our mind. Okay, so is it all about our perception of how safe the world was? No, the world has never been safe. If I think about all the people that I've buried over the last umpteen years since I was 24, then very few of them expected to die on that particular day. But some came to the end of their lives in the way they did. But about a third died of cancer. Quite a number have had sudden heart attacks. Several died of strokes. One of them had a stroke while I was preaching. He plopped down dead in front of me while I was preaching. That's how bad my sermon was. Poor old Bill Whiteside. May God forgive him and bring him into his mansions. And Jupiter was only 16. He died of measles in Zambia. And Christopher and Daniel committed suicide. Life was too difficult for them when they were only 17. Andrew died in a motorbike accident when he was only 17. Paul had a just mysterious death, really. Suddenly died. He was only 17. Poor old Jodie. Something went wrong with her internal workings and she plopped down dead as well, tragically. Daphne, when she finally got everything just as she wanted it, got cancer and died. Fatini had ovarian cancer and died unexpectedly. Even when you think about that way, Pete got killed on a motorbike accident. 2 or 3 others died in a similar sort of way. Adam was killed in a car crash, aged 18. The world is not a safe place to be. So you have to be. You have to live with the fact. All of us have to live with the fact. The world is dangerous and precarious. It always is precarious and dangerous. Always has been. Even if you just take people deliberately being violent to each other out of the equation. And therefore, it's incumbent upon us to live today in the holiest way that we can. because for all I know, this is my last day. And sometime today, I may well find myself standing before Christ, accounting for myself, accounting for the gospel, this pearl of great price, this treasure hidden in the field that I have found, I was given, I managed to get. And what did I do with it, with this huge treasure, this wealth that I have? Did I keep it to myself, in which case it's no longer mine, or did I try and give it to others, in which case, God willing, it becomes mine as well? What did I do with each day? Did I spend it well? Did I spend it badly? That's why it's incumbent on all of us to live today absolutely to the full in holiness. You'll say, seize the day, by which they usually mean go off and have a good time, eat, drink, and make merry, for tomorrow we die. But actually, make today the day you're going to do good. Make today the day when you're going to spend in prayer. Make today the day when you exhibit the gospel in your own life. Because tomorrow there might not be a tomorrow. Thinking about Joan and saying about Hezbollah. Hezbollah is always very dangerous. Very RPG cancer, my goodness me. But also, if you remember, about 18 months ago, there was a huge explosion in the middle of Beirut, somewhere I go past every time I go to the airport. Bang! And people I know who have flats in that area, their flats are devastated. People are killed. Nobody expected that the day before. And it always amazes me when you see horrific accidents that have taken place. And I think somebody got up and they put on those clothes today, not expecting them to be the last time they ever got up, had a shower, put on clothes, cleaned their teeth, said goodbye to their wife or their children, and went off to work, and now they're dead. That's how suddenly death can come upon you. I've been a witness to, I think, three murders, and I've seen people die in front of me quite frequently, and sometimes in accident. I remember a boy going very slowly in a motorbike, and he touched the car in front and fell off and broke his neck and died. And how very delicate life really is. Very, very delicate. Our lives hang by the thinnest of golden threads. That thin golden thread, that's why it is we must always protect other people's lives as well. Okay. Sharon, you were on the way out to the Paraclesis that day. Oh, God bless you. Thank God. Well, thank God you were spared, and there's other people I know who spared. I saw those awful videos inside the cathedral in the middle of Beirut, somewhere I try and go to whenever I go to Lebanon. Terrible. Very, very shocking. Right, well, that's enough. So I think today, talking about all of these things, you could pray for each other. There's some good news about Christian, and that is that he's returned back to Lincoln. I'm hoping to hear that he's gone back home. Let me have a look, see if there's anything there. No, his wife hasn't sent me an update. I know he's in a great deal of confusion, and I'll go and see him when I get back there at the end of this week. Hopefully I'll be able to get into the hospital if he's there, otherwise I'll see him at home. Otherwise, you could pray for the people we normally pray for, and also pray with all your hearts for those people who have suffered today. And that's everywhere. Okay, your prayers. God bless you. Inshallah, Shufak Bukra. Should have been plural.